Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Hello and welcome to another Good Morning Fantasy Football with me, Murf. Hope you're tuning in after yesterday. Thank you so much for the kind comments I got yesterday for this new show. We're going to keep going. And the Scott Fish Bowl drafts started yesterday. So going to deep dive again today into what has happened. Some of you I know are drafting at the weekend. All the slow drafts started yesterday. Some have already drafted. If you're in the Scott Fish Bowl and listening to this for insights, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you aren't in the Scott Fish Bowl, then I still think there's some insights you'll get out of this show, and it's not all going to be Scott Fish Bowl. Good Morning Fantasy Footballs. We're going to do other charity tournaments, other events as well as the week goes on. But because it's such a big event and it's kind of the start of draft season, there's not loads of news to go around. We're going to focus and zero in on Scott Fish Bowl drafts. And so for this, I've pulled up, and if you're watching the YouTube video, it'll probably be the best way to view this. You will see the tool on Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life or MB Fantasy Life. And this tool is created by Josh _ADHD on Twitter. He's joined the team and has put this tool there. It's completely free to use. So I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Do go and use this. But I'm going to do live ADP. Now, just for insight, I'm recording this at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 9th of July. So this data might be slightly different if you were looking at this in real time or when this comes out, which will be soon. So this does refresh every few minutes. And you can download this into a sheet and really sort of get into the nooks and crannies of this. Now, the first thing that immediately drawn to is this number here. So this is the number of drafts. We can see here that there is one draft which has not gone past the 103 after its launch yesterday, and there's another one that hasn't gone past the 104, and then these numbers start to fall off a little bit. So there's still quite a lot of drafts that are in the kind of first round. It looks like about 220 drafts are about, well, let's have a look at 12. We're looking at probably 217 drafts have finished the first round. A lot of stuck around that sort of early second round. I'll show you my team towards the end of this. No one cares about my team, but I will show it anyway. So, we're starting to get some insights on what the ADP picture looks like here. We can see Josh Allen is mostly the consensus 101. The highest he's gone is 7th. Then Christian McCaffrey 102, Jalen Hurts 103. Someone got him at the 109. That's a great steal. Jackson at the 104. He's latest he's gone is the 107. And again, Patrick Mahomes is the consensus 105. CeeDee Lamb the consensus 106. Anthony Richardson the 107. Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, CJ Stroud, Breece Hall, and Jamar Chase, and that's making up your round one. So some interesting insights there from when we looked at this yesterday is the tight ends have fallen into round two, which I don't hate that. I said that I thought Laporta was a bit high, and it seems to be that the consensus is with me there because he's fallen into round two. So I think I look at that first round. I don't like Mahomes there. I think that's a little high for me. I would much rather have Richardson there. I think the quarterback, the wide receivers are in the right order for me. The running backs are in the right order for me. I don't really have a big problem outside of where Mahomes is in that first round. I think that's about right for me. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. We can see that all these players, with the exception of Tyreek has not gone 101. Highest he's gone is 102. Breece Hall, the highest he's gone is 102, and to Chase, the highest he's gone is 104. So that's the first round. If we look now going into round two, a lot of you either just at this stage or have drafted in this stage here, there's some really interesting takes here. First of all, for me, is there's a big run of running backs at the end of the round, and we start to see the tight ends come off the board. So Jefferson Murray at the QB7, I get it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I have other preferences there, but I get it. Amoroso Brown. I have personally Kelsey as my tight end one. So, but you can't really argue with what Laporte has done. So I'm fine with that. You can see actually someone's taking Kelsey at the 102. So there's clearly other people that do think that. So this margin is a lot closer than I think people have it, and I don't think that's a big problem. I kind of have Kelsey sort of quite a bit ahead for Laporte, not loads, but on a points per game basis, there is a gap there to where I have Kelsey in a tier of his own. But again, if you're reaching for that tight end in round one, the consensus is telling you that that's not what is going on in the rest of the world and the rest of the universe here. So it's interesting. If you really believe those guys are the difference makers, then fine. You have to go get your guy. I'm not sitting here and telling you otherwise. But I do find it interesting that he was a consensus sort of tight, a first round pick, and now he's not. Someone got him at 27. Which is great value. I'm all for snapping him. And someone got Kelsey at 33. So you can see there's some leagues where they're really fading the tight ends completely. Joe Burrow there at 8. I mean, I have Dak Prescott over both these guys, but each their own. Saquon for me is the big outlier here. He's the guy I don't like in this range. And I talked about this on yesterday's show, so I'm not going to repeat. Someone took him at the 102. He's gone at 33. I mean, each their own again. You've got to go get your guy. But as the RB4, for me, that's a reach. I'm all for reaches in this format. If that is your guy, then fair enough. But for me, that's a bit steep. I'd much rather have Taylor Gibbs. These guys here in particular. Hard to argue AJ Brown there. And then we're seeing Jordan Love at the end of the second round. Again, I think that makes complete sense. I would rather have Daniels, but I'm not against getting Jordan Love there. I don't think there's a huge difference in those guys. And if you want to go with the proven over the rookie, I'm okay with that. Speaking of Daniels, I talked to him yesterday as someone who would rise up boards. He has, and it's really interesting. He's now risen up to right at the start of the second, and I think probably when more and more drafts get into this range, I think you're going to see him probably be a consensus 212, 301 pick, and I think that's the range. So I think if you're in the second round and you want Jaden Daniels, I think you're going to have to get him. I don't think he's going to hang around much longer in the third round. I know Danny, who listens to the show religiously, got him at the 302, and he's asking, do I pull the trigger? And I was like, absolutely, you got to. Because his consensus now is the 304, and that will rise. I think he will get to the 301, 302 range. Trevor Payne talked about yesterday. I think that's high for me. I'd much rather have Andrews. It's funny how on boards pre-draft, Dalton Kincaid was the tight end 3. Now he's the tight end 5. Now, I still have a couple of tight ends over him, but at tight end 5, I'm more in line with this line of thinking. And again, this is why it's really important to analyze the data here, because people are telling you now that there is some doubt over Kincaid. And it's something I talked about in great length yesterday. If you didn't listen to yesterday's show, please go back and watch and listen to it as to why I think that. Now, he could jump, he could fall, but I'd have him a bit lower than this, but again, I think he is an ADP faller from the old ADP to current, and I'm okay with that. I think that's right. Personally, I have him a little lower than that. Marvin Harrison, we can see this is a bit of a false ADP, and the reason why, he's only been drafted 3 times, so it actually is realistically that he is much lower on boards than where he is here as the wide receiver 9. It's just very difficult because he's been drafted at the highest of 17 and the lowest of 39, but he's only been taken in 3 drafts. Now, keep in mind that some of these drafts here, pick 50 with 62 picks. It means people are later on Marvin Harrison, again, than this consensus. And I think that's what's really key, is there's some numbers in here. This is the most wonky of all of them. This is a fake ADP. 3 people have drafted him. So if you're looking and using this tool to draft off, then you need to ignore Marvin Harrison's ADP. Again, I would have him much lower. I talked about this yesterday. Kyron Williams, I'd like to see a bit higher. But RB7, I get it. I have him over Saquon. I don't really have much. I mean, the rest of the running backs there, I could sort of see the argument either way. But I'd push him up boards. You've got Brock Purdy at quarterback 12. Again, I think that's probably about right. I don't have a big problem with that. I think that's a fair ADP on him. Travis Etienne RB8 and Derek Henry RB9. I have them the other way, but it is close. So I don't have a big problem with that one way or the other. I don't have this wide disparaging view on one over the other. Pitts at 6. He is being overinflated here by this pick at 3. So this pick at 3 is probably severely overinflating him. I actually think his true ADP is behind Ingram, and that's what we're seeing in a lot of drafts. And I think, again, when you're starting to get around tight end 8, 7, 8, 9, I'm okay with Pitts at that price. I think he was too high in the consensus. We're going into round 4 now, and we've got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, I think QB 13, fine. Justin Herbert 14. I'm probably a little bit out on him, given the way that Harbaugh runs his offense. So I'm probably not buying at that price. I love Ingram here at this range. I think it's a good pick here. I think he went at the 401 in my draft. So I think that, I said he was in the 5th round ADP, and I think you said you're having to reach for him, and people are doing that. People have elevated him. He could be a 3rd round pick when we look at this tomorrow. A bit lower on Drake London than others, and Adams. Adams' value has come right down a little. Well, not right down. It's come down a bit. It's again, these are some of the things I talked about yesterday, and we're starting to see them in the ADP. So I'm not infecting the ADP. Right? There's not enough people watching my show and my insights to say that I'm doing this, because that's not true, and I'm not that big-headed. Far from it. But it's showing you that there are people that are of a similar mindset, that when we looked at the ADP from all the pre-draft data and the live data, there were some things I felt were out, and Devontae Adams falling to, I still think that's high, but there we go. And then Brandon Ayuk here at wide receiver 13, I think it's far too high. I don't want part of that. So that's where you are, kind of in that sort of, he's in the 5th round there. It's too high for me. But a lot of these ADPs have held up from what we've seen previously. But as we get more data here, as these start to jump into the hundreds, as they will today, we'll start to get a true reflection of where they are. Right, going on to a few rounds. I'd be moving Rashad White up boards. I'd be moving Deebo Samuel up boards. Michael Pittman. I had the choice between these two players yesterday, and I went Pittman over Samuel, and I love Deebo Samuel. But I think, again, if you're looking at someone took him at 22 and someone took him at 89, so there's a bigger variance on Deebo Samuel, whereas there's a bit more of a consensus on where Michael Pittman is in drafts. But this is all starting to look, the players here in this range, I would be thinking you need to make a move on here are Joe Mixon. I saw Joe Mixon go in the 4th round of several drafts. You can see he's gone at the end of the 3rd. And I actually think 58 is probably a little late. I would be expecting him to be going in the top 50 when all this is said and done. So I think you're going to have to be prepared to spend a top 50 pick if you want Joe Mixon, and that's something I would tell you here. The rest of this isn't that bad for me. I'd have Njoku higher up on boards. But I can understand the argument why people are out on him, so I don't have a big problem with that. I think Alvin Kamara is too low in this format at 66 RB16. I think he is higher than that in this format. That's a player I'd be working on here. I think Kirk Cousins' ADP here, I think, is being artificially inflated downwards by this 111 pick, where it's somewhat, a couple of leagues he's been faded way out. I actually think he shoots up a little bit higher than QB 18. So I'd be a little careful on that price there. But the rest of this isn't too bad. I think Tank Dells are still here at wide receiver 29. I think there's a few quarterbacks here at sort of Deshaun Watson range. I think Montgomery's are still here. I think Kirk's are still here. I think there's some really good players here who are steals at their position. So players, James Conner, RB20, I think is a steal. I think you've got a lot of good players in this range here. This sort of 70 to 85 range where you can really sort of make some hay in the draft and get some good value picks to shoot you up the board. So one player we are going to talk about, and I'm going to actually zero in here, is there's two in particular we're going to look at. So one is Rashid Rashid Shaheed. So let's find him in here. It's a really good tool. You should definitely go and check it out. All right. So let's do a zero in on where we are on Rashid Shaheed. So we can see here that he is drafted in 47 leagues, most recently by our good friend Danny Kelly. And we can see here where his highest picks are. So someone took him as their wide receiver 1, as the wide receiver 4 overall at the 112, which is mad. And then you've got here someone taking him in the second round, at the end of the second round. That looks like a live draft here. That's why it's a date and a time. So you can see here we've got 2 drafts where he has gone ridiculously high. And then we're seeing here fourths, a sprinkle of fourths, but really we're seeing him in this sort of 5th, 6th round range. This is where we're seeing the majority of picks here. So I think this is where you've got to be thinking about taking him. And I guess it's to make you aware, if this is a player that you want on your roster, and this is a player that you need to be reaching above the ADP on. So his ADP at the moment is 83.5. And again, it's slightly inflated because of this 112. But he also has gone as late as 140, which is just not realistic. So this is you see here, there's plus or minus 31.4. This is where the sort of margin of error is. So I'd be taking the plus on that. I'd be, I think if you want him in your picks, you're going to want him around pick 50 to 60 is where you're going to need to take him if he's someone that you're looking to draft. There's a good case for him, returning rules, with his role in that offense. There's a case against him in the fact that, they've got a new OC there and things could absolutely change. And we don't know what that might look like. And I think you have to pick which lane you want to stick in. But I'm just telling you that if this is a player that you want, you're going to have to be really aggressive on. We can see like Kate Madshuk has taken him. We saw Danny Kelly has taken him. Cody Smith. These are some Bull Blast them. So both Madshuk's have taken them. So again, you're looking at some analysts here that have taken him quite high. We see some have taken them as their wide receiver 1, so basically they faded the wide receiver position till the 6th round, and then have taken them as their wide receiver 1. It's a bold strategy, but it is available to you, obviously. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting outlook of where we are with Mims. So again, I wouldn't be paying these sort of prices here. I think from sort of this range, if you want him, I think that's where you're going to need to take him. That 5th, 6th round. I think you're going to have to be where you are. And again, I buy the argument both ways. You've got to draw a line as to where you are on that. Another one I want to look at in more detail here, again, for very similar reasons, is Denver's Marvin Mims. Now, look, he has been drafted in 37 leagues. Now, I would assume that most of these are just the live leagues because of the NA. It might be that the dates not put on here. So look, we can see here Bob Lund has taken him as his wide receiver 4 in the 10th round. We can see someone's taken him in the 3rd round. That's wild. Again, some of these names are familiar. These are people that have obviously seek these out as a strategy. This Danny Heifetz, Danny Bateman in the Danny Bateman League. Has taken him, but we're looking here, and he's gone a couple of times in the 7th, and he's mostly looking in sort of that 10th, 11th round range is the ADP. I think again, if you're buying in the same principle as you are with Shaheed, spending a 9th, 10th round pick on him makes sense if that's the approach you want to go down. That's the price you're going to have to pay. His ADP is later than that, it's 13th round with a variance of 28 picks, so that elevates it up to 10th round. That's kind of where you're looking. So someone got him a wide receiver 63. That's a great price. Like, you'd love to get him there. So there's a couple of really, really interesting players that you should be looking at and thinking about where they might go. There are going to be questions. I'm going to get on those. And then lastly, I'll talk through my team. Not that anyone cares about my team, but it will prove that do take my own medicine, I guess, is the phraseology. If you talk about yesterday's show and where I had players and what I value them, then you can start to see that actually I do take my own medicine. I do believe in what I say. I don't just put takes out there and don't follow my own advice. This is me. Here we go. So that's me. Lamar Jackson as my quarterback at 104, followed by Travis Kelce. I was very happy to see him slide to the 209. I ran and took that pick. Followed by Derrick Henry as my running back 1 at the RB9, and then Michael Pittman. And again, I had the choice between Pittman and Samuel, and that's where I ended up. There we go. That's where I am at. That's my team. That's a bit on the ADP side. So you've got plenty of data here you can go through. We can see here this was last updated just a few minutes ago. So this is live data as we're going through, as I gave the time on the show. I hope you have found this a particularly useful show. I hope you are finding these entertaining just to get you going with your morning. I enjoy doing this sort of stuff. I'm always available on Twitter at 5 Yard Rush, so feel free to get in contact with me there. I've realized I didn't put the bubble on yesterday or the day, so I'm going to make sure I do that now. So you can see that there at the bottom screen at 5 Yard Rush. So get in contact with me if you've got any questions, to try and answer them as I can through the day. If anyone wants to chat, we can set up a space and talk. Happy to do that as well. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you so much for all the support so far, and good luck with the rest of your Scott Fish Bowl drafts. We'll be back tomorrow with probably a different show. See how things progress today. But there's a couple of other charity drafts I want to do some analysis on, so I'll be sure to do that as well. So don't forget, as always, till tomorrow, good morning and keep rushing.